I thought I was clever. I believed I was untouchable. But I was wrong. Painfully, devastatingly wrong. That day, I walked into the house with a smile fixed on my face. A smile I assumed no one would question. It wasn't an ordinary smile either. It was the kind born from the thrill of feeling powerful, from believing you've hidden something forbidden. A secret, a lie, a betrayal. I told myself it was just a lunch date. That's how I justified it. Just food, laughter, harmless talk. But deep inside, I knew it was more. It was stolen hours with Ethan, the man who wasn't my husband. The man who made me feel alive, desired, and exciting again. As I pushed open the front door, Daniel's coffee lingered faintly in the air. The house was neat, calm, exactly the way he always kept it. My heels tapped against the wooden floor, each click echoing with a confidence I had no right to carry. I even hummed to myself, carefree, like someone with nothing to hide. Daniel was in the living room, glasses sliding down his nose as he read on the couch. He looked up, caught my eyes for a brief moment. His gaze was steady, calm, unreadable. I thought nothing of it. Why would I? He was Daniel, kind, loyal, steady Daniel. My husband of 8 years, the man who loved me without limits. And still, I betrayed him. He didn't deserve it. He wasn't unkind. He wasn't neglectful. If anything, his greatest fault was loving me too much, trusting me too deeply. His faith in me should have been my anchor. Yet I treated it like a chain I wanted to escape. That afternoon, I felt smug. Invincible. I convinced myself I could live in 2 worlds. The safe, dependable love of my husband, and the intoxicating pull of another man. I thought I could hold both without losing either. But I didn't realize that the smile on my face that day, the one I thought was harmless, was the very thing that would unravel everything. That smile wasn't a mask. It was a confession I didn't even know I was giving. And Daniel read it clearer than I ever imagined. I should have noticed. I should have recognized the way his eyes rested on me. Not with suspicion, but with quiet certainty. If I had understood what that smile truly revealed, I never would have stepped through that door. Because that was the last smile before everything shattered. When I think about how Daniel and I began, shame stings me. We were the couple people envied. College sweethearts, inseparable from the start. He was the boy who carried my books, the one who stood in the rain outside my dorm just to walk me to class. He had this calm way of making me feel safe, like no matter how chaotic the world became, I'd always belong with him. When he proposed, I didn't hesitate. We married young, and it felt like fate. Our early years were filled with laughter, late-night talks, and dreams of the future. Daniel was steady, thoughtful, devoted. He put me first in everything. He'd drive across town just to bring me lunch, or stay up late helping me study when I could barely keep my eyes open. Back then life felt perfect. But perfect things can dull. Dreams can fade into routines, and routines can start to feel like cages. Over time, the spark dimmed. Not because Daniel stopped loving me. If anything, his love only deepened. But it was a love that became predictable. Wake up. Kiss on the forehead. Coffee on the counter. Goodbye. Work. Dinner. Dishes. Sleep. Repeat. He was always there. Always present. And somehow, I began to feel invisible. Like the woman he had fallen for had disappeared into habit. Looking back, I know it wasn't his fault. He was being everything a good husband should be. Provider, protector, partner. But back then, I twisted it. I told myself he didn't see me anymore, that I was more routine than wife. And then came Ethan. He wasn't extraordinary. Not really. But he knew what to say. We met through a mutual friend at work. His confidence was easy, effortless, so unlike Daniel's quiet steadiness. He noticed things Daniel overlooked, a new haircut, the shade of my dress, the perfume I chose. He made me feel like a woman again, not just a wife. His compliments flowed smooth and sweet, and I drank them in despite knowing they were poison. It's only lunch, I told myself. Harmless. Just a little escape. But deep down, I knew it wasn't harmless. Every time Ethan's name lit up my phone, my pulse quickened. I'd smile at the screen even as guilt gnawed at me. Daniel noticed, of course. He wasn't blind. He saw me staring too long at my phone, heard my flimsy excuses. But he never accused me. He never shouted. His trust kept him silent. That trust, his deepest strength, became his greatest weakness. He loved me even when I didn't deserve it. And while he held on, I was already slipping away. The unraveling began on a Tuesday. Just an ordinary Tuesday to everyone else. But to me, it was the day I chose temptation over loyalty. Ethan's text arrived in the morning, casual as always. Lunch today, just us. My heart leapt in a way it hadn't in years. I told myself to resist, that Daniel would never forgive me if he knew. But within minutes, I was reaching for the dress I knew Ethan admired, the one Daniel barely noticed the week before. Lunch shifted into something else. Ethan leaned closer. His compliments slipped across the table like confidences. I laughed too loudly, touched his arm more than I should. I knew it was wrong every single moment, and yet I felt alive in a way I hadn't in ages. Desired. Wanted. Seen. On the drive home, guilt began to creep in. My mind spun up excuses. Say work ran late, say I bumped into a friend. Then I stopped. Why bother? Daniel never questioned me. He trusted me entirely. That was both his strength and his weakness. By the time I pulled up the driveway, I'd made my choice. No lies, no explanations, just a smile. If I acted as if nothing had happened, then nothing would. I walked inside humming, a soft smile on my lips. The house smelled faintly of coffee and cedar. Daniel's cologne lingered in the rooms. He sat in the living room, glasses low on his nose, a book open. When I closed the door behind me, he looked up. His gaze met mine and held a beat too long. Not angry, not suspicious, just quiet, watching. Hey, I chirped, my voice overly bright. How was your day? He didn't answer at once. He simply studied me, his expression unreadable. Then, almost too softly, he said, fine. I shrugged it off, dumped my purse on the counter and went upstairs, humming louder. I told myself he was tired, distracted, stressed. I told myself he didn't know. But that night his silence pressed on me. Usually Daniel would ask about my day, hold me close, kiss me goodnight. Not that night. He lay beside me, turned away, breathing steady but distant. I told myself it was nothing, just one quiet night. Nothing had changed. But inside something twisted with unease. His silence weighed heavier than any argument. If I had known then what Daniel already knew, I never would have walked through that door smiling. The days after the lunch bled into a long stretch of unease. On the surface, everything stayed the same. Daniel still woke early, made coffee, went to work. He still took out the trash, folded clothes, fixed the squeaky cabinet. But underneath, something was different. It was in how he looked at me, or rather, how he didn't. His eyes no longer rested on me with warmth. His smiles were faint, polite, like those you give a stranger. He still brushed my shoulder when he passed, but it felt automatic, not tender. It was as if my husband had quietly retreated to a place I could not reach. At first I told myself I imagined it. But every night he slipped into bed, turned his back, and the wall between us grew taller. Along with guilt came anger. Why wasn't he asking me what was wrong? Why wasn't he fighting for us? Part of me wanted confrontation, for him to shout, demand answers. But he didn't. He carried on with an unsettling calm. Meanwhile, Ethan grew bolder. Lunch wasn't enough for him anymore. His messages increased, threaded with insinuations that knotted my stomach. When are we getting real time together? You deserve more than scraps of his attention. I knew it was wrong. I knew I was playing with fire. Still, Ethan's persistence seeped into my cracks. I felt torn. Guilt whenever I looked at Daniel. Temptation every time Ethan's name lit my screen. Tension mounted until one night I arrived home later than usual. I expected the living room lamp or the quiet of the upstairs. Instead, the house felt oddly still. On the kitchen table lay a single folded note. I froze. My heart thudded as I reached for it, hands shaking. The line inside was short, written in Daniel's steady hand. I know. Don't worry, you'll never see me angry. But you'll never see me the same again either. My stomach dropped. The room tilted. First I denied it. Maybe it referred to something else. Maybe I'd misread. But deep down I knew. He knew. His silence and composure finally fit into place. I couldn't sleep that night. The note burned inside me heavier than anything I'd ever carried. By morning I snapped. I cornered Daniel in the kitchen, voice quavering. Daniel, what do you mean? You know what? He looked at me properly for the first time in 8 years, and I couldn't read him. His face wasn't angry or broken, or even sad. It was calm and resolved. I saw your messages, he said, even and steady, and I saw you that day walking in with that smile. My throat went dry. What smile? I whispered. He shook his head slowly. The smile that told me everything. You weren't just guilty, he said. You were happy. You smiled because betraying me made you feel alive. In that moment I realized I had already lost him, before I even had a chance to fight. I slid into a chair, breath gone. My instinct was to beg, to cry, to plead for him to rage, to slam a door, to call me every name. Anything but this terrifying, gentle calm. Daniel, please. It was a mistake. Just once. I can stop. We can fix this. He cut me off with a shake of his head. No, you don't understand. This wasn't a single lapse. I could forgive mistakes. I could even forgive moments of weakness. But I cannot forgive that smile, because the smile meant you wanted it. It meant you took pleasure in betraying me. And that's something I can never recover from. Tears made my vision swim. I reached for his hand, but he drew away. Not angrily, simply with finality. Then he told me the part that broke me utterly. I've already started moving out. I moved some savings. I signed a lease for an apartment across town. I met with a lawyer. I don't want to humiliate you or cause a scene. I just don't want to live a lie anymore. My chest collapsed. You planned this? He nodded. For weeks. From the instant I saw that smile, those words cut into me like a blade. It wasn't the affair itself that finished us. It was that brief moment when my betrayal showed on my face. My indifference, my arrogance. I expected him to hate me, to shout, to punish me. Instead he chose dignity. He chose silence. And somehow that hurt more than anything else. Because in that instant I understood I hadn't only lost my husband. I had lost the one man who loved me enough to leave without destroying me. Because I had already destroyed myself. I once believed silence was weakness. That if someone truly loved you, they'd fight for you, scream, cry, plead, or smash things to prove you mattered. But Daniel proved me wrong. His silence wasn't weakness. It was his strongest weapon, and it cut deeper than any shouted accusation. Because silence offers no closure. It gives you no chance to defend yourself, to explain away what you did. Silence leaves you alone with your guilt. Your memories looping until they poison you from within. Daniel did not yell. He did not ask why. He didn't try to compete for my attention. He simply left. And the cruelest thing, he didn't storm out in rage. He left with dignity. That's what makes it sting the most. I wanted him to scream. I wanted him to smash something. I wanted to feel as if maybe I was still worth fighting for. But instead his calm voice and steady steps as he walked away told me the truth. I wasn't worth it anymore. I thought Ethan, the man I risked everything for, would be different. I believed he'd fill that void inside me, make me feel wanted in ways Daniel couldn't. But Ethan vanished when things turned real. He was never mine. He was merely a distraction. A quick thrill that faded as fast as it had come. Once the dust settled, all that remained was Daniel. His love, his loyalty, his steady presence. The things I treated as nothing. I used to scoff when he'd leave little notes in my bag, or text that he missed me during the day. I called it predictable. I called it dull. Now I see it was love. The kind you rarely get twice. I regret the cheating. Yes. But what haunts me isn't the act alone. It's the smile. That stupid, careless smile I wore when I walked back through the door after betraying him. That grin told him everything. It showed I wasn't merely unfaithful. I was pleased with it. And that's the image he carried when he chose to go. Now whenever I face a mirror, that same smile looks back at me. Each day I wish I could wipe it away, because that smile cost me everything. So tell me this. If someone you loved betrayed you, and did it with a smile, would you forgive them, or would you walk away in silence?